62. Emotion and action. 3. Talent.
She has musical talent.
Noble.
The revolution spread noble ideals of equality and liberty. He was of noble blood. They weren't nobles, but they were rich.
Scorn.
He looked at the homeless man with scorn. He scorned the traditional method as superstition.
Insult. Insult.
I didn't mean to insult you. Please don't get upset. They had an argument and shouted insults at each other.
Peasant.
The noblemen were supported by the labor of peasants.
Unequal.
An unequal distribution of wealth is characteristic of capitalism. The steel beams are unequal in length and weight.
Equality.
The lawyers tried to uphold the principle of equality before the law.
Deceive.
They were deceived by a man who claimed to be a banker.
Tactic.
The new tactic was employed to speed up the economic recovery.
Suppress.
The noblemen ruthlessly suppressed the peasants' revolt.
Conscience.
The Constitution guarantees the freedom of conscience.
Reconcile.
They exchanged harsh words, but now they have reconciled.
Envy.
She envied him for having enough money to travel around the world. Everyone looked at his new car with envy.
Betray.
His conscience forbade him to betray his country. She said she was all right, but her voice betrayed her frustration.
Jealousy.
When Alice hugged Steve with affection, Mary felt sick with jealousy.
Invade.
The Japanese invaded Korea in 1592.
Bewilder.
He was bewildered to find fire engines rushing toward his house. The bride was shown a bewildering variety of wedding dresses.
Pessimistic.
They are pessimistic about the quick recovery of the patient.
Optimistic.
She is optimistic about her chances of winning the first prize.
Overwhelm.
She was overwhelmed with rage toward the cruel act. Our soldiers overwhelmed the invaders and made them retreat.
Impulse.
She admitted that she had bought the dress on impulse.
Mentality.
I can't understand the mentality of students who give up studying.
Sane.
The psychiatrist said the suspect was perfectly sane at the time of murder.
Deliberate.
It wasn't a coincidence. It was a deliberate act to humiliate me.
Purpose.
This book is published for the purpose of improving your vocabulary.
Coincidence.
It was just a coincidence that I met my wife at the airport lounge 20 years ago.
Filter.
Don't forget to buy some coffee filter papers. The water is filtered before being supplied to homes. The news filtered through, surprising everyone who heard it.
Biased.
The report about the project is biased.
Positive.
You'd better have a positive attitude to life. The response of the public regarding the project was positive.
Negative.
Smoking has a negative effect on your health. I received a negative response from my manager.
Mutual.
Mutual respect is vital in order to have a lasting marriage.
Reciprocal.
The contract will provide reciprocal rights and duties.
Benefit.
The villagers didn't have the benefit of industrialization. The new dam will benefit farmers growing crops in the desert.
Retreat.
The invaders were forced to retreat after suffering heavy losses at sea. The water that flooded the fields retreated into the river slowly. The invaders were in full retreat, losing battle after battle. Words in context. Henry was a young man with a talent for philosophy. He saw noblemen scorn and insult peasants. Henry couldn't believe that noblemen and peasants were created to be unequal. He thought it was only with deceptive tactics that noblemen suppressed peasants. His conscience told him that the natural equality of all humans should be restored. He tried to reconcile the two classes. He gathered the young who could share these ideas with him. But there was a noble who envied Henry his talent. He betrayed Henry out of jealousy and murdered him. Finally, the peasants rose up in arms. Their army invaded the private land of the rulers by surprise. Though the noblemen formed a defense line in a hurry, they were pessimistic and overwhelmed by the impulse to retreat. But one of them had a different mentality. He kept his sanity and was optimistic, knowing that the peasants bewildered them deliberately. He saw their true purpose by filtering out biased views. He figured out the positive and negative sides of the uprising. He suggested peace talks with the peasants and told them that mutual or reciprocal benefits would result from a more peaceful solution.